Hi, I'm Christine. I'm an undergraduate student at the University of Pittsburgh, and I study information science. And today I'm going to talk about permission prompts. So I'm sure no one here is a stranger to the average permission prompt. You go through the process of setting up a new application and get asked a series of questions around this granular structure. So that is getting asked one thing at a time, and then giving this option to accept or deny it. This can easily get overwhelming, though, as you continuously get prompted multiple times, and some of the information begins to look the same. So how do we stay conscious in our privacy choices, but also still consider the security risk and app functions at hand that we want to do? Where do we find this balance between usability and security? So first, taking a step back, let's look at the goals that we want to achieve from each side. So for usability, we want to have fewer prompts and higher level explanations. We want to be able to easily recognize what is being asked of us and feel less interrupted in our setup process. For the security side, we want to know the specifics of why this particular piece of information is needed from us, and also a reasonable range of controls as to how we can accept or deny the prompt. So an outcome from past literature, it is shown that the usability side, we are given these higher level explanations, but somehow users still have this weaker comprehension. So let's take a closer look at that. Since we are explaining things at a much higher level, we're kind of losing some of that technical terminology that explains exactly what's going on. So the scope becomes a little unclear to the user of what is actually happening in the application versus what we think it's doing. For the outcomes for the security side, since we want to be more specific and highlight the importance of each prompt, we're going to have some stronger user comprehension. The scope is a little more clear. But to keep this importance, we want to have more specific prompts to explain why it is a security reason. But this can also lead to a higher chance of habituation. So habituation is the decreased response to repeated stimulation, and it's often the key factors why people don't really remember all the prompts presented to them. It is actually shown in past studies that it only takes 2 to 3 exposures of the same pop-up before users begin to tune out this information. And this can be kind of bad because as you kind of click out of these, you may not be realizing the choices that you're making for yourself, and you can often be overprivileging the system when you don't really want to. So taking the key outcomes from both sides, for the usability, we want these concise prompts that are clear to us and recognizable. And from the security side, we still want informative prompts that model what the system needs and kind of explain the functions. So together with both these sides, aiming to combat the best for the user, we come up with these usable security heuristics that can help define how the permission request data can be transformed into a more interactive prompt. So with this, we believe the best approach to meet these goals is a type-driven system, one specifically equipped with special support for permission prompts to characterize exactly what the system needs to function. So with the type system, we will statically analyze the program to determine where information is flowing, all our possible requests, and then apply our crucial usable security heuristics to simplify and then consolidate these prompts into small groups. So to begin understanding that at a high level, we begin to decompose the prompt by its source and destination. Source as in what is this information and where it's being accessed from, and destination as where it's going and what kind of function it's serving. So with the standards of information flow, we're kind of able to track the data from where it comes and goes, and also collect the metadata that follows with it. It becomes inferred, and then we're able to use this within our prompts. So beginning to look at an example of this in practice, in line 2, we can see that the first thing is collecting our contacts, so that would be our source. In line 5, our destination/function would kind of be an outside service that is connecting our contacts to people that are already using the application. So putting this together in the request, we are able to understand and declassify this to be a kind of shared context. We're given our list of options, we know our source and destination, and then from that, we are also collecting the metadata from our source and destination. So we know our categories, contacts, the function, understanding risk levels, and how many times this will need to be accessed. So with all this information, we can then take these expressions and re-inform our type system to then begin how we want to group them. So with grouping, there's been a lot of class exploration with how it could be bundling and stuff like that. So we begin to explore how to specifically group these with our usable security heuristics. So taking from a wide variety of past literature on different ways that test sets happen, we kind of come up with a overall heuristic of a few things that we think could be helpful. So specifically for permission categories, we're going to go with predefined groups like calendars, contacts, camera, things that are easily recognizable to us and will make sense being in the same group. For our destination and function, we believe that it could be okay to cross-categorize different requests into the same group because they are fulfilling the same function. So that way our context is so clear of exactly what it's being used for and the why is much clearer. For risk, this will be how people determine how important their information is to them. For example, your medical information may be more higher risk than your online social media behavior. So to keep the importance of higher risk things, we want to keep those separate, and rather we're only going to focus on possibly grouping these things that have a moderate to lower risk. That way our data stays very visible to us and we are able to understand what may be cause more of our attention. Lastly, for access, this is the frequency of permission usage, and this could be like for a mapping application. You're probably going to want to be always or allow while in use so that you're able to track correctly how you're getting to your proper destination. So in our grouping examples, we want to find similar usage across different prompts, but also be highlighting it on whether it needs to be more inactive. So this way we can prevent over-privileging by allow once being highlighted at the top, or even over-prompting with allow once being highlighted at the top. So let's begin to see this in kind of a recognizable example. I'm sure all of us know Zoom, our video conferencing app. So in that setup process, you'll be prompted with some of these prompts that could be asking things for like your camera, calendar, all your typical setup things. And from looking at this visually, you could already kind of tell that possibly there could be two that could be grouped together because these prompts would already occur back to back. So looking at a deeper code level, we could see that both of these are serving different categories of microphone and camera, but they both serve the same function of like setting up our meeting. So even the risk is moderate, so let's also look at this back in our comparison to our table. So again, confirming that since they're both serving the same function of video chatting, they have this similar risk level, which kind of supports the authority to group them as well. And also for access level that we can see from the metadata that it will be used during video calls. So it may be more important to highlight while in use over allow once. But we still want to keep that choice, so we can make it a little more clear to users why it's allow once. So on our left side, left or right, I don't know, we have our two original prompts that would appear back to back to each other, and then our newer prompt, which could be consolidating both our information. I'm going to wrap up. But yeah, so here we're able to see that we're highlighting while in use.
It's coming back.
Okay. We're still highlighting allow while in use and also mentioning our allow once for calls, so there's more context to our user. But from this, we're still highlighting the importance of both of the categories and now kind of understanding the function for it. But as a whole, we want users to make more informed decisions, and we believe the best way to do this is balancing usability with security, and then having our program analyzing to verify that these are accurate. Thank you.
Time for questions again.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was thinking that definitely an assumption in kind of the current state is a fair amount of skepticism or even like an adversarial relationship between the platform and the developer. So I'm kind of, I'm curious, like, are there ways that you can use these types while also giving the developer, you're sort of giving them more ability to describe functional groupings and such. Are there ways to also prevent them from doing that in a misleading way?
Yeah. Yeah, we did actually explore a little bit in the paper on what the developer side was like for making permission prompts, and it's very easy that they can make mistakes or misread regulations and stuff like that. So I believe with this, we're kind of trying to explore that with our kind of like checking process. We'll be able to see that like when the request information is actually being like called upon in the program, we'll be able to see that it's accurate to what's happening in the prompt. So.
Is there a way, and this might require, more extensive platform support, but like, you can see in this, if you ask for a camera and microphone, it reduces the granularity of what permissions you can give it. You have to either give it both or give it neither, and maybe you can go back and like change this in settings, but at the level of the prompt. Would this be something where it would make sense to be like, this is asking for a bunch of permissions, set the levels for each of them. At that.
So you mean like having like two different, like just like one larger prompt with two things going on? Or?
Yeah, like you could imagine, say, like a list of group permissions, and then each one it's like, what level do you want to set this at? Yeah,
there was some other literature I think that did like a similar structure to that, and I think with this, I guess we wanted to have it more minimized, so in a way that it just feels like less overwhelming. And I guess with this example particularly, if you're gonna join like a video call, it could make sense to have both. But I guess that could definitely be explored in like other contexts and stuff
or
like
like
that.
maybe you're like, okay, well I don't want to use my camera for this. I just want to talk with people.
Yeah, it's definitely something we could keep exploring in our design process. Is that I feel like the most interesting part about this is kind of developing the prototypes of how we want the UI to look.
Right.